Hey, what's up, Integrity fam? Welcome back to Hacker Heroes. In today's episode, number 12, I am super excited to speak to Fera. And most of you out there probably know her for her YouTube channel, for her Instagram channel, and yes, she is teaching infosec to a lot of people out there. And in this interview, we're going to talk exactly about that. So let's see what Fera has to tell us. Hey Fera, nice to have you on the show today with us. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing perfectly fine. Thank you very much. Tell me and the audience a little bit about yourself. Who is Fera?
So, first, I'm an application security engineer. I'm also a bug hunter and I'm also a YouTube content creator. Actually, I'm more of like a social media content creator because I do other platforms as well. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
All right, nice. So you work in infosec. Can you tell the audience a little bit when you decided to get into infosec and how you got into it?
So, I think the entire journey started about 3 years ago. I was actually pursuing a bachelor's in mass media because I wanted to be a journalist at that time. But 1 year into my course, I got really bored. I was not enjoying it. I expected it to be more of a hands-on course, but it was quite theoretical and didn't live up to my expectations. And I had a lot of free time on my hands. And that's when I decided that I need to do something else. Because that was not my passion. So I tried a few other things, and InfoSec happened to be one of them. And I joined a local training institute and I did a course on ethical hacking. To be honest, the course didn't teach me much, it just covered most of the basic concepts of hacking. But more importantly, what it did was it got me interested to learn more because I was like, okay, this seems like an interesting field. The course didn't teach me much, but I realized I had to like probably do a lot of self learning. So I started that, and what this training institute had, they also had clients for pen tests and for audits. So they had this thing where if one of their students, after completing their course, if they work for them, for their clients, for 3 months or more, then they will give you an internship certificate. So you actually kind of pay them for a course and then you also work for them. So you're paying to work because it was an unpaid internship. And in retrospect, like, that obviously seems very unethical and I don't want to recommend that to anyone. But since I was coming from a completely non-technical background, I didn't have any ties to the cybersecurity industry as such. I thought, I'll have to like sacrifice something somewhere, and I was okay with it because I was interested in it. uh, so it gave me a little bit of experience the working over there, and then after that I got another internship, which was a internship that actually paid me. So that was my first paid gig in infosec, and when I got that, that's when I realized that I think this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do as a career. So I completed my bachelor's side by side, even though I knew I wanted to do infosec. But yeah, that's when I realized.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That you were shifting trajectory over here a little bit and found your way into infosec that way. Even if, as you were just saying, that first piece was kind of weird with having a paid internship, but hey, at least you're in the field right now, which is awesome. And when was it on that like whole journey that you heard about Bug Bunny for the first time?
So I think it was again in that training institute. One of my colleagues happened to mention bug bounty, and that concept sounded really interesting to me. It was the first time I was hearing of anything like that. So I still remember I went to Bugcrowd's website and I looked for I searched what's bug bounty, and they had these list of programs, and there was a whole table whether they offer like bounties or they pay in swag or they give hall of fames. And I just shut it down because I was like, there's no way I'm going to find a bug where all these talented hackers. So that was the first time that I actually researched about bug bounty and I found this out.
Cool. And that was like, as you were saying, 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, this was about 3 years ago.
And do you still remember the first bug that you have submitted to any program?
So when I started bug bounties, I didn't hunt on any of the big platforms. What I did was I looked for independent programs. I looked for them through Google, and I found so most of these programs used to be quite fresh. So it was easier to find like the easy bugs, and they wouldn't necessarily pay in bounties. They would probably give a Hall of Fame or maybe some swag. So the first bug that I found was actually a CSRF bypass. And they rewarded me, like they gave me a Hall of Fame on their website for it. But to be fair, it was not a very well known platform or anything, so it was easier to find a bug like CSR.
Right. Well, it's still a nice bug to find, I guess, as the first one that you ever submit.
Right.
So nowadays, if you look at yourself right now, how many hours a week do you spend on bug bounties?
So I think it really depends. For me, my first priority is my job, and then whatever time remains from that, I divide it between social media like YouTube and bug bounty. So there might be a week that I spend like 6 7 hours hunting, but I'm not doing that much of content that week. But there might be another week where I don't hunt at all and I focus only on content. So it really
Right.
depends. I don't think I have a fixed answer for this.
No, that's perfectly fine. Speaking of your content, though, let's speak about that a little bit. You're obviously running a very successful YouTube channel. Can you let us know when you started that channel?
I think it's been a year, a little bit over a year since I started.
And what was your motivation to start it? How did all of that come together?
So when I started bug bounties, I had just completed my second internship. So I was, I guess, unemployed. I was looking for a job, and I thought bug bounties might be a good way to build my portfolio up and also earn like some side like cash or something. So I started that, and as I said before, I was getting Hall of Fames and a little bit swag here and there. So I was posting about all of that on LinkedIn. Uh, and when I got my first bounty, it was I think $100 bounty, and I got that, and I posted about it. I got so many questions from people asking me how I got started, what I learned, and at that point, I think I realized that there was a little bit of a gap in terms of content, especially on YouTube. I felt like there wasn't a beginner telling another beginner what to do, because I think once you cross that beginner stage, you forget what it was like to have been there. You don't know what another
Right.
beginner needs to hear, what they need to know. So I thought, I'll just make a video. Like usually, what people in my place would have done was they would probably write a blog, but I think I said this before. I feel really comfortable in front of the camera, so my brain naturally went to creating a YouTube video. So that was my motivation.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one. And I mean, you just talked a little bit about it, and looked it up. Your most watched video on your channel is called My Bug Bounty Journey. Did you get the chance to help a lot of other people, newcomers by now, finding like their own path, their own bug bounty journey?
Yeah, I think I have. I would like to believe like people tag me on their posts on Twitter and LinkedIn if they get their first bounty or first triage, and they thank me and other people for helping them throughout their journey. So I'm glad I can be a part of that because I think I mentioned this earlier. I'm mostly self taught. I've learned from all these free resources available. So it's kind of nice to give back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very much appreciated. And this might be why you're gaining somewhere between like 1,000 and 2,000 subscribers a month um, on YouTube by now, at least from what I've seen. What are your future plans with your channel?
To be honest, I don't have a plan. There's no particular direction that I want, like I see it going. I kind of go with the flow, but there's one thing that I always keep in mind is I like to cover really complex bugs and simplify them and explain it to people. So, for example, if you see my channel, especially recently, I have like H2C smuggling, regular expression DOS. So these are bugs that when I was reading up about them, it took me a while to understand it. And I think the same goes for a lot of people. It takes a while for people to
Right.
understand these bugs. So I kind of want to, and everybody breaks it down for themselves. So I decided I'll just do that myself and do it in a video form. So right now I'm going with the flow, but this is what I like to cover. I like to cover one complex one complex bug and talk about it.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely awesome. And I guess if you keep going down that way, still something that people will appreciate over the next couple of years. You mentioned it before that you're not only posting stuff on YouTube, but also on other social medias. Can you tell our audience what other social medias you're using and how are you differentiating between those? Is there like stuff for you that goes on YouTube and different content that goes on another platform? Or how does that look like?
Yeah, I think uh, every platform is very different, and the audience for every platform is very different. So I definitely don't put the same content everywhere. My two main platforms, I think, Instagram and YouTube right now. Instagram is
Hmm.
something where I can really be very creative, and it pushes me creatively because there are all these trends on Instagram, like trending sounds, trending music, and to find a way to integrate that with infosec and make a really nice infotainment kind of video. I think it's a bit of a challenge, but I love that. And I think it's a lot more fun than informative, although it is informative, but it's definitely not as informative as YouTube is. YouTube, on the
Right.
other hand, I feel like I'm very professional, I'm very put together. uh, I'm definitely not as put together on Instagram. I kind of just be more like myself over there. But it's again, the platforms are completely different. The audience is different, so the audience enjoys it more. So that's what I do.
All right. Cool. Quick question about your success because of your public exposure. Has there been any massive surprise to you yet where you said, "Oh, I wouldn't have expected this happening to me"?
I don't think there have been any surprises as such because I follow a lot of creators in a lot of different spaces like food, beauty, lifestyle, everything. So I kind of know what comes your way when you are a public figure in that sense. But I think the fact that I got that exposure, that itself was a big surprise to me. Because if you watch my first few videos, I think my first two or three videos, it sounds like I'm just talking, like I'm just casually talking to a person. Like in my recent videos, I'm much more formal, professional. But in my earlier videos, I was so casual about it. I wasn't really expecting the attention that it got. So I think that itself was a big surprise to me.
Okay, cool. I want to shift to a different topic a little bit. You are obviously out of India, and I'm always interested in the culture and in country our guests are from. And in regards to India, I was wondering what is the general perception of people in India if it comes to hacking? How do
Hmm.
Indian people see hacking?
Firstly, India is a very young country because most of the population is under 35. So among that crowd, I think they most of them understand cybersecurity. They understand the risks. They understand infosec, and they understand the whole ethical hacking concept. Of course, there are a few exceptions to that, but in general, like it's if you have a conversation with someone from that crowd, you can explain it to them, and it'll be fine. But I think the problem is with the people who are a little bit older who don't understand. For example, like even for me, when I talk to my relatives, it takes me like a while to just explain to them what I'm doing, and they still have so many questions. Also, like apart from the people who are working in tech, there's a lot of lack of awareness about the these data leaks and all that happen because they happen quite often to Indian apps,
Right.
but people don't really understand the gravity of it. And I made a few reels about data leaks that happened to Indian apps on Instagram, and people were commenting saying, "Oh, what's the big deal? Who cares about our data? We're not the president. We're not the prime minister." So I think that is an area which could use a little bit more awareness. Uh, but I think from the technical point of view, they understand why hacking and ethical hacking is is a really good industry and why it's required.
Right, right. Well, that's interesting, but it's really nice to see people like you spreading that awareness to all the ones who don't really understand why cybersecurity is important.
Right.
Um, Quickly talking about the bug bounty community in India, why do you think it is so strong and so big?
I think there are a few reasons for that. But I think the first most important reason is that when Indian hunters get a bounty, they usually get it in dollars or in euros. And both of these currencies are very strong when you compare them to the Indian rupee. So it's nice
Right,
when you're earning in dollars and euros and you're spending it in rupees. So I think that's probably the most biggest reasons people that there's so many people in the Indian bug hunting community, because if you compare it, like Indian companies will pay you in rupees, so there's no comparison between how much you can make as a full-time bug hunter if you're a regular bug hunter and how much you can make as a paid or a salaried person in an Indian
right.
company, right? There's no comparison. That's one of the bigger reasons. I feel like there's also another reason. uh, so Indian parents kind of push you to go to become an engineer, lawyer, or a doctor. That's just kind of how it is. Again, there are a few exceptions, but this is, if you look at it more generally, this is how it is. And I think because there are a lot of engineers, and uh, this field complements engineering fields very well. So people who are studying engineering or have just gotten out of engineering, uh, they find this field to be quite interesting. So I think that's also another reason.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for those insights. I want to get back a little bit to your personal hacking experience, and I want to know: do you have like a favorite vulnerability class? What is the one you're searching most for, or that you like the most?
I think first it has to be information disclosures. I love looking for them, especially like Google Docking and all of that. That whole process is really interesting to me. Um, and another one is business logic bugs. So I'm not that much of a recon person. I don't use a lot of tools for like active scanning and recon.
Right.
I prefer to go through the application's functionalities, and that's why I like the business logic part of it a lot.
Cool. Yeah, those are nice. What is your first thing you do when you approach a new target?
Okay, so what I do every time I start on a target, before I look at it as an attacker, I always use the app as a normal user. This was something that I was taught in one of the internships that I did, and they told me that before you start finding bugs in it, just use it as a normal user. Keep burp running in the background and let burp log all the requests and the entire site and all of that. Um,
Right.
so they encourage you to go more like to do recon, but in a more like passive sense, where you're just going through the application and letting everything log at the background, and not as much of the active recon scanning kind of thing. So I think that's the first thing that I do when I start on a target.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something really really good doing. What are you doing though to avoid duplicates?
I think it's that, because right now there's a trend of doing a lot of recon, and there are so many tools and so many scripts. I don't think I've jumped on that trend yet, so I still prefer to hunt manually, and I prefer applications that have uh, a smaller scope, or maybe like only one or two applications. So I hunt on those, and I go really deep. I feel like a lot of people might not be doing that, so that's how I avoid duplicates. Of course, I do get duplicates time to time, but I think
Everybody
the more
does.
deep, yeah, the deeper you go into it. And another thing I do is I stick with targets for a longer time. And what happens with this is every time the app adds something new, you instantly get to know that, okay, they've added something new over here, and I'm going to go and look for
Mhm.
bugs. Then it's probably going to be easier. So someone who's switching targets every now and then won't be able to find those out. But since you know the app and you hunt on it quite often, uh, it's easier to avoid duplicates when a new functionality is added.
Right. Yeah, that's really good advice. Do you have a favorite tool that you're using? And most of our guests at this point would say Burp Suite. Some are always saying without Burp Suite.
Okay, that's a tricky one. I don't do much recon, but there's a combination of a few tools, um, and I really like the results that come from using these. So those tools are Wayback URLs, dir search, and sublister, subfinder, and of course you can interchange the directory and subdomain enumeration tools.
Right.
But what I like to do is I just like to feed the results from one into the other and vice versa, and just like do a whole mashup, and the results that come out of that are pretty good, because if you're only using one of them, you're probably getting the same results as everyone else. But if you like kind of interchange and do this whole mashup thing, then you get better results. So I think that's a combination I feel like I really
Okay. So I'm having one more question on the hacking part of things. If a complete newcomer comes up to you right now and says, "Please give me one big advice. I only need one advice, and after that, I will start my career in bug bounty." What would that advice be?
like. I would say go for go for applications, or go for systems that require a lot of setup, because wherever there's setup involved, there are lesser people there, and you're going to avoid duplicates, and you're going to get a little bit like you're going to get some easier bugs over there. This is some advice that I'm actually trying to implement myself right now. So that's what I would give to them as well. So I think when mobile applications, desktop applications, a lot of people don't look at that. People stick to web because there's almost no setup involved. But with mobile,
Right.
desktop, and stuff like that, there's a little bit more setup involved. So invest that time, do that setup, and I promise you, you're gonna get some good bugs.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. All right, I do have a couple of would you rather questions for you right now. Are you ready for those?
All right, let's go.
Let's go. So the first one is, would you rather choose a bug bunny program of a fashion retailer or of a crypto exchange?
I think a fashion retailer, because there are chances that I've used it.
All right. Would you rather search for insecure deserialization vulnerabilities or for race condition vulnerabilities?
I think race condition, definitely. I find it very interesting, and I don't know a lot about insecurity serialization to find those bugs.
Right. And they kind of go well, I guess, on a fashion retailer store, for example, during
Right.
during
Promo
like a
code
checkout or
redemption.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, next one. Would you rather want to be listed in Microsoft's or in Apple's Hall of Fame?
I think Apple.
Yeah, can you explain why?
I don't know. I don't have a particular reason. I think I just like Apple products, and I generally tend to like hunt on programs that I can relate with, and I feel like I would use their services. So that's why I think I would go for Apple.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Would you rather color your hair pink or get yourself a tattoo if you wanna celebrate an RCE that you, I don't know, that you found on Apple's Bug Bunny program, for example?
I think I would get a tattoo. That's a little less
Yeah.
overwhelming than coloring my hair pink.
Getting like an apple or something like that.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool.
Yeah, it would be a good story. People would be like, "Why do you have an apple on your skin?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I found an RC."
Exactly.
And
Now
then
I want to
nobody.
find an RC just so I can get that tattoo. That story actually sounds really cool.
Yeah, if I get to meet you one point in life and I will spot that apple, then I know what it is all about. All right, I have one last one. Would you rather collaborate on a YouTube video with Lady Gaga or with Leonardo DiCaprio? And what would that video be about?
Hmm. I think I would do it with Lady Gaga and we would probably make a song about uh, RCE or like some bug class, and then I would come in with like a whole rapping verse. I don't know, I'm just going wild here because that was a wild question.
Yeah, no, that's good. That'd be so great, like a little piano piece or something like that, and then you singing
Yeah.
about RCs. I would watch that. So you would have my views in that video. All right, let's wrap it up over here. Do you have anything you want to share with our audience? Any shout outs to any hackers? Then now's a good time.
So I would like to say to any beginner that if you're in your journey and if you feel like you're getting somewhere and you're doing good, then try to help others. Maybe write a blog or do something, put something out there, show your skills, and that will also help others because there's nothing like your brain when you're learning. Because once you cross that beginner stage, you will not be able to help others in the same way as you can now, as you can right now. So definitely do that. And when hacking something, I would always advise you to look at the application as a user. That will always give you a better perspective. Many people just go in and just try to look at it as an attacker. But if you're a user of the application and then you try to find bugs in it, it makes a huge difference.
Cool. Any shout outs to anyone?
I feel like there are so many people. I don't want to start because I might miss someone. But off the top of my head, I would definitely give a shout out to Codingo, Vortex, all my colleagues for supporting me. And yeah, there are so many people. I don't want to get. I don't want to start because I feel bad for missing people.
Just to the entire community and all the amazing
Yeah,
hackers
for
that
sure.
that we have right in the world. All right, those are lovely last words for that interview. Thank you very much, Fera, for being on the show with us today. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope we get to meet at one point in real. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you for having me. This
Thank you once again, Farah, for being on the show with us today and for all the valuable insights that you've shared with our audience. In our next episode, we're going to talk to Capitan, and he is ranked number 15th in the Integrity Leaderboard. And that means he has a lot of juicy information about bug bounty to share with you. In the meantime, please let us know in the comment section who we should interview next and the questions we should ask the people. And apart from that, give this video a like, subscribe in the top right corner, and I will talk to you soon.